Hey guys, it's Kara, and I decided to make a video regarding my type 1 diabetes diagnosis. So, I'm not sure how long this will take, if I have to break it into more than one video, or if you guys want to just sit and listen to it all, so I guess it depends on how much I talk. I wanted to discuss how I became a diabetic. It was in April of 1991. I was 7. And it was not long after Easter. I remember the night really vividly, and it's been 20-some years, so it's kind of hard to explain. I don't think there's a word or words, rather, that could describe how I felt up into the coma. So just a little backstory. I was 7. I was healthy. There's no diabetes in my family. I was a little bit on the overweight side, but for that age, that's kind of normal. My doctor put me on not a diet, but just a recommendation regarding snacking instead of going for chips and like unhealthy food, to try like pretzels or like vegetables and whatnot, just to try to get a few pounds off me. Well, I lost a lot of weight. And normally, that's a sign for diabetes when you drop a lot of weight quickly. But no other symptoms. My mother's a nurse. She knows about diabetes and she didn't notice anything. So, my phone. So, one night I was in my mother's room. We would watch movies together or TV together, and I would fall asleep in her room with her. And actually, the room that she was in was this room. This room I'm in now used to be her bedroom. And it's funny because the bed was actually on the other side of the room. So it's, I don't know, things I remember. So I remember one night I was feeling weird. I had vision issues. Now, things were trailing, so to speak, so when I would look at something, it would trail. Or if I looked at something and concentrated on it, it was like a tunnel. It just went, and I'm talking about like the design on my mother's shirt. If I looked at it, it looked like it was 10 feet away. And I started feeling weird and getting scared, and I started to hyperventilate and tell my mother there's something wrong. She tried to calm me down. And I just remember feeling like weird, like this wasn't right. I was extremely weak, but I was freaking out. And like I was going to her for comfort, but like no matter how much she comforted me, it didn't work. My grandmother was here. She gave me a paper bag to breathe in because I was hyperventilating that much. My mother and my grandmother decided to take me to the ER. Well, call 911 and be taken by ambulance. I don't remember getting into the ambulance. I think I blacked out then. I do recall going to a hospital and then waking up in the middle of the doctors and nurses giving me a Foley catheter. What that is, it's a little like balloon, so to speak, that they put in your urethra, and that's in case you have to urinate, and it goes into a bag. I woke up during that. That was the most painful thing I can ever experience at the age of 7. And I remember the doctors and nurses talking to my mother, and the hospital that they brought me to did not have a pediatric ward. So they told my mother that they had to transfer me to another hospital. They told my mother to make calls and get people, notified, because I was a diabetic and I was slipping into a coma. Mind you, not hereditary. My mother was in complete shock. My blood sugar was well over 1,000. It was so high, their meters could not detect how high my blood sugar was. So we're in this hospital. I'm getting IVs, and they're going to transport me to shock trauma in Baltimore City. I don't remember anything after that because they transported me by a helicopter. I think I would remember that. I went to shock trauma. I was slipping into a coma. I just remember before I went into a coma that I looked at my mother and she's trying to calm me down, and she's right there next to me, worked up and scared, and I just looked at her. And that's the last thing I remember looking at before I went into my coma. I was in a coma for 5 days. I remember hearing things like my mother's voice or like doctors talking, but it was very confusing. I don't know if, I was slipping in and out of a coma that I could hear these things, but I heard stuff, and like it was almost like a dreamlike state. It was all just so much for me to take in. I was 7. So while I was in my coma, my mother was there by my side the whole time. She didn't move from me. My organs started to fail. My brain got encephalitis, so it was swelling, even so much so that they said that my brain was going to, or my skull was going to crack. It was just so swollen. They had me on all the machines. I had 5 IVs in me, everything. And I just kept declining. So one day, the doctors and the nurses asked my mother, "What do you want to do?" She had me blessed by every, religious person in that hospital. And she said, "What should I do?" And they said, "She's not going to make it." So my mother signed my organs away that were okay and asked them to disconnect me from all the machines, minus the IVs. She wanted to see me disconnected from everything as, her normal daughter. They told her to go rest for a little bit before they did that. She had been up this whole time with me, and they took her to an area that was, I guess, a pediatric room with very oversized cribs. They told her to lay down in one of them and that they'd come get her. So she's in that room sleeping while they disconnect me. So apparently they disconnect the machines, and a little bit of time goes by, and I'm not really sure how long. And I come to. So I wake up and I smell rubbing alcohol, bleach, and the only thing I can describe is what death smells like, this terrible smell. And I'm laying here in the bed, and I look down and around, and I don't know where I am. I'm scared because here I have all these things attached to me that were IVs. I didn't want to move. I'm like, I don't want to do anything to cause any problems. And I'm looking around. I hear nurses and doctors and everybody talking outside of my room, but I'm waiting and looking for my mother. It felt like eternity that I was there waking up. My throat was so dry. My tongue felt swollen, and all I wanted was something to drink. So I'm just sitting there, or laying there rather, just kind of scared to say anything, but I was completely unaware of what's going on, how long it's been. I just wanted something to drink and my mother. Eventually, a nurse came in, and the look on her face was in complete shock. She was so still. She looks at me, and I look at her, and I said, "Where am I?" And then she said, "Honey, you're in the hospital. You are a diabetic." She then screamed for the doctor to come, and a bunch of people came in. They took the curtain and opened it up, and here I am in the bed, and the doctor, started crying. He fell to his knees and said, "Get her mother." So they got a team of people. Apparently they ran to get her. And I'm just sitting in there, confused, and, everybody looked like they were happy but crying, and I didn't know why. I mean, I just woke up. What's going on? What's wrong? I was still very scared because I didn't know what was going on, and I felt incredibly drained and just confused. My brain was confused, so to speak. They get my mother, and apparently she's in that crib I mentioned, and they told her to hurry up and come. They couldn't really spit it out. So my mother immediately thinks that I have passed away. Her foot gets stuck in the rail, and it apparently takes her a little bit to get it out because she is now like in panic mode. She thought they were gonna like disconnect me and she'd have time with me before I passed. So she's completely scared and runs with them. She sees a bunch of people around my bed and they're crying. So my mother automatically gets weak and like faint feeling, and she's crying, but not hysterically. They open up the curtain and I'm sitting there holding a diet ginger ale Shaska. And I said, "Hey Ma," or Mommy, sorry. "Hey Mommy, I'm a diuretic." She screamed. She fell to her knees and came and ran over and hugged me. And she cried so much, and I didn't know what was going on. I was just thirsty. I just woke up. And I was just confused. I didn't know what diabetes was, and I didn't know what a diuretic was, which is kind of funny because I called myself a diuretic. But like I said, it's really hard to explain how it felt to go into a coma, and how I slipped into a coma, how I blacked out and came to, how I heard things. Waking up, you know, I don't really know how long it was that I was awake before they discovered me. You know, that hospital became my home for a month. My mother and I stayed in the hospital. They taught me everything about insulin, diet, you know, how to test my sugar. And it was just an abundance of information that they were giving me. And I do recall when they were explaining what diabetes is to me, they said that it could kill me. They said, you can fall asleep and you won't ever wake up. Now for a 7-year-old, that's pretty intense and scary, and it scared me. I don't think I realized how much it scared me, but it did. So, it was 1991 in April that I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes by going into a coma for 5 days. The doctors were so surprised that I woke up. They were so set that I was going to die. They don't know how or why I woke up. And I did. And I'm here telling my story to you guys. Now, not all the time does a person go into a coma to be diagnosed. I just happened to go into one because I was apparently diabetic for a few weeks up until that point. So, you know, a lot of times people are diagnosed by having, you know, blood work done, urinary tests, glucose tests. But because it wasn't hereditary, we didn't have to go through that. A lot of people go through that and those testings if it's in their family and the children are acting a little off. So, yeah. Not everyone's diagnosed like me. Apparently, when I do something, I go all out. So that meant a coma. And that's nothing to joke about, but it's something that happened to me that definitely impacted my life forever. Because I slipped into a coma, I am coma prone. I won't mention how I've had other small comas, nothing compared to that, but I am coma prone. So as long as I take care of myself, I won't ever go into a coma. I won't let myself go into a coma. But there is that chance. So just imagine being 7, feeling weird, looking for somebody to help you because you're in this mode of not feeling right, your vision's off, you can't control your breathing. You go to your mother who's always been the one to comfort you, and she can't comfort you. Not that she couldn't, but because there's this feeling inside of you that is so foreign that you don't know what's going on. And, you know, waking up in a hospital not knowing where you are and, you know, going through all of this. I had to mature very quickly because of my coma and the information and the knowledge I had to go through to live. And back then, diabetes was handled a lot differently. There weren't as many advancements as we have today. So it was totally different. But I hope that helps you understand how I became a diabetic. It wasn't because I ate too much sugar. It wasn't because of being slightly overweight or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't any of it. I just got it. And unfortunately, I got it in a coma. And that is something I will always remember. The feelings, how I felt. It will never leave me. And it changed me. I did not know when I woke up from that coma that my life would never be the same. And honestly, I don't know how it feels to not be a diabetic. I was only a non-diabetic for 7 years. And I've been a diabetic so many times longer than that, you know? So going into a coma has changed me and scared me and made me who I am today, but because of that, I am a strong person. I don't let it bother me. I mean, when you tell people that you've been in a coma, they kind of look at you like they're interested or intrigued. Some of them look at you like they don't even know how to respond. So it's kind of like a story to tell, which is kind of what I'm doing here, is telling a story that my life changed at 7 and has continued to evolve and change into who I am today. And I'm sorry if this is sounding like kind of serious and whatnot, because it is. Going into a coma is something not to be, like, to joke with. And, yeah. As I've become older, I've realized how much going into a coma and being diagnosed affected me. And at the time when I was a kid, I thought I could take on the world and I was different and I was, you know, cool because I was different. But as you get older and you reflect upon things, you definitely understand your feelings and emotions and how they were when you went through those said events. So, I mean, yeah, that's how I was diagnosed. I'm rambling now, and I don't even know how long this video is and if I should split it up or whatnot. I do have to edit out my cell phone ding because it's not a video with me if my phone doesn't go off. But I just thought I'd take the time and tell you guys about my story. If you are a diabetic, please comment down below. I would love to connect with you guys, you know. You're not alone, and you know, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are. I would love to talk to you, and you can tell me how you were diagnosed with diabetes. Now, if you're watching this and you're not a diabetic, but you know someone who is a diabetic, ask them, how were you diagnosed? I don't know if some people are uneasy about it, but when you take that interest, you can learn something. Everyone's different. Everyone's individual. So, and if you're someone who's watching this because you're my friend and you just wanted to hear the story of my coma, then that's what happened. That's me. I mean, I have tons of stories, and I should really write a book, but I am terrible at writing. So this is why I did a video. Alright, so I'm going to end this now. I thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and like my videos, or if in the very least, please share them. There might be somebody you know that is diabetic, or you may not be aware that they know someone who is a diabetic, and these videos might help them. So please share my videos. And I'm not doing this for likes or for money, because obviously there's no ads in these videos. I'm not doing it for YouTube stardom. I mean, it would be like something amazing to help someone out there just to learn. So, thank you for watching. Please share and comment and like, and find me on my social networking. And if you have any questions about my diabetes or about me, just comment below and I'd be more than happy to answer them. So until my next video, I hope you guys take care.